Hello everybody, it is me, Everbriskatoozy, and today we're here talking about that time I got reincarnated as a slime. This series was created by Fuse, artwork for the manga done by Taki Kamakami, and then the original artwork by Vitsma. I think I said that right. So apparently, as I was looking at the information based off of the story, I found out that the person that does the art for the manga, he also did art for the series with the Demon Lord and the hero, uh, becoming married and then like raising their own like village and stuff like that, which seemed interesting. But he didn't do the art for the original series. He only did the art for the side story, and he also did art for a separate series. And apparently, the creator of this manga, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, the apparently this is his first original work, and I think that he did a pretty good job. Now, for this review of that time I got reincarnated as a slime, I have only got into at least volume 5. I've only read from volume 1 to volume 5. I think volume 6, 7, and 8 are out right now, and I have 6 and 7, don't have 8 quite yet. I think that one doesn't come out in my region until a month from now. But with all of that being said, I just wanted to do a quick little read through of the description of this series, which is after being killed by a passing robber, a normal 37-year-old guy finds himself reincarnated in another world as a blind slime. Now, to me, when I was reading this manga, he didn't really seem like he was blind. It seemed like he was able to see quite well. But I guess he, after, like, because in the story, he keeps on consuming things because he's a slime. So he can, like, grab onto things, and he can, like, eat them, and then he's able to, like, gain their abilities and stuff like that. But I think that might be, like, a separate ability of his. But I think that after he starts eating people and gaining people's abilities, he's able to, like, be able to see. But other than that, with unique abilities, I guess that's his unique ability. He takes up a new name and calls himself Rimuru Tempest, which I think that's a pretty cool name that the author gave him, which he thought of after meeting his new friend, catastrophe level storm dragon Vendera. The dragon, I find it kind of funny with this manga because he absorbs the dragon, but the dragon is still alive because, as you saw, he's catastrophe level. If you like One Punch Man, then you probably know about like the levels of monsters and stuff like that. So that they have that in this series somewhat. That's sort of like later on in volume 5 and 4 when they're facing off against orcs, or was it ogres? No, orcs, because I think the ogres are the ones that are a part of his team. Yeah, yeah, the ogres are like the humanoid creatures that are part of his team, I think. And so there he begins his new slime like life in another world with his increasing number of minions by his side. Now that's the thing that I like about the series. From volume 1 to volume 5, he gains so many followers. Like he becomes like he becomes like a president of like a ginormous city town. And I haven't read volume 6 and 7 yet, but I can't wait to see what happens. But during his whole entire like thing in this manga, he like befriends like all these goblins. Like he like the goblins of like a forest that he's a part of that used to be ruled over by the dragon. He like controls like all of the goblins, gives them these names, and then when he gives them names, they like become stronger because he has like based on his abilities. He also befriends these ogres that are look humanoid, but then when he like humanoid slash monstrous, but then when he gives them names, they transform into more humanoid creatures that are a lot stronger. And then he also befriends these wolves in the first chapter where like these wolves are attacking the goblins, but then he kills like the leader, and then he ends up like making the leader's son that was a part of the wolves team to be his guardian or be like his guard, which is pretty messed up, but it's okay. And then after that, he also, I think, he befriends people of the forest. He also befriends like like a nature lady. Like sort of reminds me of like a Mother Nature. Like he befriends like a Mother Nature type lady that's a part of like the soul of the forest. And that's pretty much a lot of this. And apparently he also, after he defeats the orcs in volume 5, he like makes them go be a part of his towns. Then he has like a whole bunch of like orcs there too, which is pig creatures. And that arc was pretty cool, especially when you saw him like combining all his powers into like a humanoid bat creature. I wonder what other creatures he's able to like chow down on or to get abilities. But that's pretty much the stuff that I was saying because I'm all over the place. But like I said with the dragon earlier, before I went on that side tangent, when he ate the dragon, because the dragon was such a high level, he's absorbed into his body, which is pretty unique. Because you would think that with him eating all these creatures, you would think that after he defeated him, he would the dragon would go away. But then there's these short stories at the ending of the book. They have that for a lot of stories that I've been reading recently that have light novels, because this is a light novel that got translated into a manga. But the dragon is inside of his body, and then there's these short stories at the end of the book where you actually have to read, and it's the dragon watching the main character as he's going on his journey, like a bystander, and then he's also able to like go into go into the main character's mind and read his memories, and he like reads manga in his head, which is pretty funny and pretty weird. But also the starting of the manga is pretty funny too, because they do like a delete my history type moment, which you could tell that this guy, the author Fuse, he knows what he's doing, because that's a good way to start it. Delete your history, a good meme worthy moment at the beginning of the manga, which got me interested. And then the whole entire thing with him being a slime, then gaining new abilities, and seeing him go along. After that, at the ending, the last part of the volume one, he meets a girl, and that's where, because at the very starting of the manga, there's a picture where you see him in his humanoid form, and when I saw that, I was like, is that the main character? But then he's a slime, so I was like, how does he get his human form? He gets his human form by meeting a girl that also got reincarnated in this world, but not really reincarnated. She actually got sent there, like a normal isekai travel to another world. So she actually got sent to that world. She got summoned by like a demon lord or like a demon king in this world, like one of them, or it might be the main one. I don't know. I think it's the main one, and he like recruits other demons to do his bidding and stuff like that behind the scenes. Which I think stuff like that is happening after in Volume 6. Stuff like that, because the demon king ends up finding out about the slime and his abilities and stuff like that, and then ends up finding out that he looks sort of like the girl that he summoned. I think that's how it goes. If you read this manga, tell me if I'm saying this right or right. So then he meets this girl, learns about her, and then she ends up like being taken over by like a gift that the demon king gave her, like, because when she got summoned, she didn't have any abilities. She was a regular human. So then Demon King gave her abilities, but then gave her the ability by putting a demon into her body in order for her to have fire powers. So then she ends up getting almost killed, but then the main character saves her. But then she ends up almost dying anyway. So then the main character decides to absorb her, and then in doing so, he's able to turn into her. So then he ends up turning into like a clone of her, but then because he's a slime, he can reshape and inform himself. So then he forms into like his own version of her, like to remember her by. And then as soon as when that happened in the manga, it's like, oh, it makes sense now why he's human in the cover, because I was wondering how that was going to happen. But it's weird how he pretty much became friends with someone from his world in order to have that form. And it was a pretty funny moment, because he went from like a guy form, then he went to a girl form, and then he decided to go with ambiguous, which was pretty cool, to be honest. Because but then all the other the goblins that he's with were very disappointed, because they said that he looked really hot as, and even though that he's ambiguous, he decides to look like a 12-year-old. I think that's how tall he is. It's either he's like 12, 13, 14, like that's what his character is. But other than that, what other stuff did I like about this, or what other stuff can I talk about? Oh, there's also a thing in this book that reminds me of another book. There's another book that I reviewed slash talked about conversation wise, that's called "Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life?" Now, there's a thing in that world called, oh God, what's it called? Nanomachines, where the main character Mile is able to like talk to like these godly cosmic beings that are able to use magic in the world, and they like give her information. In this world, one of the slime's abilities, like I read this manga first before I read Didn't I Say to Make Abilities Average? So when I read that series, it's like that's like this series. So I don't know if other series do this, but pretty much the slime is able to communicate with this godly figure that even the dragon can talk to when the dragon is inside of the body. So basically, the slime can talk inside of his head and be like, "Hey, can you tell me what's going on?" And then the voice will tell him what's going on and tell him how to use his abilities and stuff like that, which is pretty good way for the author to get us to understand how he's able to do things and how he gets information around. And it's a pretty awesome ability. Based on how these two stories are the same with that mechanic, I don't know if that's normal in anime and manga. But speaking of anime, this series is getting an anime soon, which is pretty amazing. That's actually in 2 days, 2 or 3 days, and I am going to be reviewing that anime, because this series is amazing, and it's going to be amazing to have it animated. I think that comes out soon. Not pretty sure, but other than that, he also in the first manga he ends up meeting like the king of like a kingdom that's by his village. I wonder where that's gonna go, because that was like an awesome moment. I think other than that, I already talked about the orcs and the demon king, stuff like that. Past tense. I wasn't really getting too much into detail with it. But the arcs are pretty good from the beginning to the fifth chapter. The arcs are pretty well done. I'll probably say that the artwork is pretty good. The storytelling that he's done is not too predictable, but it makes sense. The main character is awesome, and then the side character there's awesome. There's like this one goblin that when the Rimuru tried to like upgrade him by giving him a name and then have him like change form into a better goblin, he still looked the same, but he's like the strongest out of all of the goblins, even though that he looks weak and dumb. And that's like an ongoing joke that happens, which is just amazing. Same thing with all of the orcs that the main character befriends and then changes their form and stuff like that. Like I think their names are Shion, Minimaru, Isoe, and then other ones. They're both those ones are all really cool characters, and I like them. I like it how they're like the royal guards to the main character, and they like look the same slash look sort of cool with the main character. So other than that, I really liked the ending of the fifth volume where Rimuru didn't want to kill the orc, like the orc leader, and instead like sort of like versed him in a 1v1 and then like got to see the real like orc king because he was being controlled by one of the demon king's underlings and stuff like that. So he was able to save the orcs and then get them a part of his village. And at the ending panel of Volume 5 was them showing the whole entire like city, because before they went from like small goblin village to town to bigger town to little city to ginormous city, which is the final panel, which I can't wait to see what happens in the next volume. So those are my overall thoughts and opinions of this manga. It's pretty awesome. I would give this manga an 8 or a 9 out of 10. A lot of people like this series or are liking the series, and if you haven't read it yet, you should read it. Even though this was spoiler galore, but if you've actually watched this video from the whole entire thing, tell me what you like about the series, because you probably have read all the way too. You're probably even past me. You might even be reading this illegally online, which you shouldn't be unless it is a legal website that you're going on to. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this review slash conversation slash discussion of this series, then leave a like. If you didn't enjoy this video at all, leave a dislike. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next review slash video. And see you guys in the next video if you want to stay around for when I review the anime, which is pretty much going to be like this type of video, but a little bit different. But yeah, see you guys in the next video, and bye.